Waiguru Khasa, Waiguru Ki Fateh. How are you all? Welcome back to the Kiran Rai Show. ਸਾਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆ ਗਏ. So, ਅਸੀਂ ਨਾ ਪਿਛਲੀ ਵੀਕ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ about bullying. Now, bullying ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਕੱਲੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗੇ. You know, bullying, we spoke about the age groups, you know how different people, what bullying is, and you know how a bullying, how a bully ਇੱਕ ਬਣਦਾ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ, how is even a bully made? Like, you know, bullying ਹੁੰਦੀ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ bullying ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ. And you know, the topic bullying ਬਾਰੇ ਸਦੀਆਂ ਤੋਂ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ, and ਜਿੱਦਾਂ generation ਵੱਧ ਰਹੀ, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ time ਵੱਧ ਰਿਹਾ, ਉਦੀ you know, bullying is kind of expanding to different levels, even to social media, and to whether it's kids, whether it's to our older generation, whether it's to us. But ਕਿਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ we've heard about it, we've spoke about it, and episode ਆ ਰਹੇ ਆ. So today we're going to dig a bit deeper, and we're going to cover more about it, but also talk about how, you know, we can actually prevent it. What can we actually take away from this show? And I hope it inspires you, that it will actually help you to protect not just yourself, but others that are around you. And also to help yourselves, if you're in a situation, you shouldn't feel embarrassed about it. Go speak to someone about it. So I hope this topic that we're covering today, I hope the points that we're going to be recording today, you know, the points that we are going to be speaking about today, I hope that will actually help you guys. And today I'm so excited because we actually have Tero. We've actually got today the three beautiful guests. I've got Sukipan, I've got Gerps, and I've got Jessie from all the way from the US. And so today we're going to talk about, you know, bullying, that you're not on your own. Now, we spoke about it last week where, as you can investigate, you know, the different age groups of, you know, and we kind of touched on that, different age groups of how different people go through bullying and what bullying is, how bullying is seen on even on social media. Do you think, here's a really interesting question, you know, I'm going to start off with you, Sukiben. Do you think bullying we see in older generation? Because often we don't speak about it, and nor does anyone acknowledge the jidi sadi older generation hai, je siane hai, they also do go through bullying as well. But people are so oblivious that they don't even see it and they don't even acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. I think it happens in families as well, especially where, you know, we mentioned it in Brazil, the BB Baba Hagea. Family members can, you know, sometimes bully them in a way where they don't even realize they're being bullied. You know, we've seen cases where people have put the elders into care homes because they can't look after them, or they find them a nuisance to deal with. So that is another form of bullying. As well as that, we see, you know, we hear about how daughter-in-laws sometimes don't get treated the way they should. So that's another form of bullying. If they, you know, go into a family and the mother-in-law or the father-in-law, whoever is in that family, are, you know, not treating them right, that's a form of bullying. Then that sort of results into breaking down of relationships and stuff. I've seen, you know, cases where that's led to the daughter-in-law and the son moving out of that family home and breaking away, to the point where I've seen a case where the person's actually left the country and moved to the other side of the world to get away from that, because they couldn't sort of, you know, deal with the bullying and tormenting as well. So yeah, nice. But generally, you know, no one that I'll be hunda, buzurgan that I'll be hunda, and you need to sort of be able to pick up those signs when you see that.
And for Jessie and Gerps that are on my show from all the way from the US, is it different over there with the elder generation? Do they get bullied? Because we see cases here, and I've experienced it myself, where I've seen families, you know, where they don't, you know, they're kind of done with their parents. They're kind of bored with their, you know, their grandparents. So ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਦੇ care home ਚ ਪਾ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ, ਜਾਂ ਫਿਰ, you know, they'll kind of push them around, but they'll use their money and all their pension to kind of, you know, work their home and buy whatever they want to run by and pass by. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਮਾਈ ਜੋ ਵੀ pension ਮਿਲਦੀ ਆ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰਾ ਘਰ ਚੱਲੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ, but they don't really care about the grandparents. So is it different scenarios over there? Is it different over there?
Do you want to take this one, Jessie, or would you like me to speak on this? All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
we can.
Yeah. Okay. So in terms of the last part that you explained about with using somebody's resources for their own benefits, I may be a little more ignorant to that one because I don't see it in my household. That's not something that I see in our close friends group, but that doesn't necessarily mean that doesn't happen. But for your first point that you made in terms of bullying and maybe mistreatment of elders, I've seen that happen. I think that happens in a lot of different households, and it looks different in different scenarios. It is prevalent. In terms of abuse or bullying in like in care facilities, that happens quite often. And it doesn't happen to just Apne Bande, like just South Asian community in general. It happens to everyone, and it's unfortunate that it happens. Um, and the mistreatment of our elders, it's very unfortunate because we are taught, at least in this household, the value of what our elders carry. And I feel like there's that misstep, that disconnect that happens. And with the younger kids, they don't understand the value or necessarily are taught the value of what our elders are or what value they bring until it's too late. And I feel like that's an unfortunate reality that we are facing now. And especially when kids are more connected, you see pictures all the time of kids on their phone while their grandparents are right across from them. You know, that attention that we're not giving to our elders, that's very that's happening a lot more now than it has, I think, in the past. And I feel like the type of attention we give to our parents versus our grandparents, you know, we take
Mm.
that for granted sometimes. And it's until that aspect is gone do we realize what we've missed. And
Mm.
yeah.
And do you guys think, when we're going through something like this, whether it's a child going through it or whether it's, our adult self or even the older generation, because they're going through it, and even Sukhipen, you've mentioned it as well, noha de naal vida hundi hai, older generation naal hundi hai, apni bibi babiyan de naal ida hundi hai, and people do get mistreated. And it's not just, I don't think it's just in our community, it's so many different communities. Bullying happens one way or another, right? And ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, it's seen one way or another. So do you think does it affect our health? Is it traumatic as we grow older and older? It kind of lives with us. Does it make us stronger? Does it make us more conscious? So what do you think, Sukipan?
I think it will obviously affect you. It will mentally affect you because you're wondering what's wrong with you. Like, why are you being treated in this way? You know, you've left your family home and come to a different home. Or, like I said, if you're your grandparents, you think, ਸਾਰੀ ਉਮਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਭਾਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੁਣ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਡਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਆਇਆ ਸਾਨੂੰ you know we're like a burden on them. So to be treated like that, of course it would affect you mentally, and it would make you think like there's something wrong with yourself. I think that's the key. I think the person that is being bullied, they always sort of think, is it something wrong with me? Why am I the one that's being singled out? Why am I the one that's being picked on or bullied? So even as adults, I don't think that is something that will stay with you for forever, and it will always have some kind of impact on you, and you'll never be able to rebuild that relationship up either with that person. So like I said, if it's between a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law, that is something that just you won't be able to fix that relationship if that's the way you're being treated. And then if there's any kids involved, they'll pick up on it, they'll see it. So if you're treating your parents in a way that is not nice, the kids will, your grandchildren will pick that up and again thinking this is normal behaviour and go out and replicate that in the classroom, or with their friends to think, what, this is normal behaviour. So it all stems from, I think, from your way you're brought up in your family, and it will just have that knock-on effect. But mentally, I think it will be something that will stay with you forever.
I will say for our older generation, there's a little bit extra care that we need to have because as you get older, you're not as mentally sharp as you once were. Things that you say, the filters that you have are not as strong when you get older. So I'm noticing now, even in our household, or even like seeing other friends' households, where things that are being said, they may not necessarily understand the weight of the words that they're saying, right? It's almost very, how kids are very abrupt and they're very, sometimes kids take things very literally. But when things are taken literally or said literal, there's so much weight that's being put on it, and it may not be necessarily what they mean. So when you get older, there's a little bit more care and more patience and more unconditional love that's needed for our elders in order to foster that growth and continue that. And I'm noticing that more now that our elders, as you get older, there's more patience that's needed. And I feel like you're given the same respect, but not many people have the same patience as they once have, and they don't understand that they need more patience as you get older for our older generation.
And I don't know if you guys agree with this, that everyone that is watching, the ਸਿਆਣੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ, they're also more wiser because ਆਪਾਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ ਵੀ ਹਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ like from our generation and the generations that are coming ਉਹ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਕਿ ਯਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਪਤਾ, we know everything, right? ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਹੋਰ ਸਾਤੋਂ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਹੋਰ ਦੇਖੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ, they have so much life in them and so much experience that all they want to do is just protect us and they just want to show that to us, right? And I think as elders get, ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਸਿਆਣੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, their sharpness does go, but at the same time I feel that they have all that experience to share with us, but sometimes we don't see it as that. So everyone that's watching, I just want you to take that point, that with our Siani, we just need to be patient with them because they've got a lot to give to us, and whilst they are around, because ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦਾ ਕੀ ਭਰੋਸਾ, ਜਗ ਜੂਦਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਮਿਲ ਲਿਆ, ਕੱਲ ਦਰਗਾਹੀ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਕਿਹਨੇ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਵੀ ਕੌਣ ਕਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਆ. Make the most of the time that you actually have. And the questions that that I want to discuss with you guys that are on my panel today, one of the things that we think of is bullying. How traumatic it can be as we're growing older, whether we're a kid, whether we're an adult, whether we face it in our families, in our household, it affects our mental health. So with one of the things that we just family, we sometimes do feel embarrassed to talk about and say we actually need help. We want to go to a therapist. Some anxiety, and or we're depressed or anything like that. And usually, some people turn around and say, "Pani the glass pila sara kuch theek ho jana." It doesn't cut it, and I'm sorry to say this to you guys, but it actually doesn't cut just having a Barney the glass. Sometimes you do actually need to go through a therapist, and you need to speak to them. You need to go through counselling. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about. You can actually go through that. Jesse, do you agree with that? That in our culture and in our community, in our society, when we hear the word therapist, it's almost seen as a negative thing that, oh, you need to go to a therapist. What's wrong with you? Why do you need to go? It's not seen as a positive thing. Actually, in therapist, Jana, it will help them heal. It will help them make better and make them stronger. It's almost seen, oh my God, they're going to go to a therapist. It's almost frowned upon. Why do you think that is?
I think it just really comes down to lack of education, right, and understanding. Because one thing I've learned is, as I'm getting older, our way of lifestyle, whether it be just little things we do, is very different than our parents did it. And not to mention when we talk about a generation before, our grandparents, the way they did it was a day and night difference, right? So often when I'm, going somewhere, like for example, for in our generation to go out on a Friday night at like 9 p.m. is not a big deal, right? We go out, hang out with our friends, go watch a movie or something. It's perfectly fine. We go out to dinner. Where in their generation, especially for a girl, to go out even late in the evening is like, hi, किथे चली हैं? कहाँ तो चली हैं? तू रह जा टक के नहीं लोड़ गया पानी जाना this and that. Like I've heard this firsthand. You know what I mean? Because they're just trying to protect you, right? But they don't know what's going on. But it's on us to really educate them and let them know, hey, what are we doing? What are we doing to stay safe, and really just having that conversation and explaining things to them, right? Because there's always that lack of communication. So if like you said, it is a negative thing. The word therapist is like has a stigma connected to it. It's like, oh, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਬੰਦੇ therapist ਕੋਲੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ mentally ਕੋਈ problem ਆ ਜਾਂ ਕੋਈ there's something going on with them, right? But it's like it doesn't always have to be so serious. Sometimes they just want to talk to someone about stuff that they feel embarrassed about or anxious about that they can't talk to their friends or family with, right? Sometimes it's some deeper issues going on where they really do need help, where they might need medication or antidepressants and stuff like that. We don't know until they go in and actually have a conversation with the professional. Too often in our culture, everybody thinks they're a therapist, right? Everybody thinks, like you said, pani pila, theek ho juga, or dod naal kela kha la, theek ho juga. Apparently, for some reason, that's the fix to all. But like I said, it's just about sitting down and having a conversation with them and educating them. I've noticed that 90% of the times when people are sitting down your parents, whatever the issue might be, when you talk to them, explain to them, hey, you know what? I know you're telling me to do this, and you're coming from where you're coming from. You're absolutely right, because when you did things, life was different then, so you did it your way. But this is why I want to do this. This is why it's normal right now in this society, and this is what I'm going to do to stay safe, or this is what I'm going to do to protect myself. But this is why I have to do it. Often, I mean, our parents, they're not our enemies, right? They want us to be happy, and anytime they do anything that's against us that we think is only to protect us, right? So it's on us to educate them or make them feel more comfortable, to let them know, hey, you know what? This is what I'm going to do, or I'm going to go talk to a therapist. Don't worry, it's only to better me. I might just, find some light or find some hope, and then have a conversation with someone. And I think that just comes down to like spending time with your families, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I,
15 years ago, 10 years ago, family structures were completely different. Families were spending time together. Families were doing trips together. Families were eating dinner together. All these things have unfortunately changed in the recent time, because people are so busy. People are so caught up with social media. People are so caught up with, Netflix and other stuff, that where the things that actually matter for your mental health are just not looked upon. You know what I mean? They're just missed completely. So it's like, it's going back to like, if you see your grandparents sitting alone, because most of them don't drive, most of them don't go anywhere. They don't know the lifestyle or the way around here. Some that do, that's amazing. They're out there, living their life, being independent. That is absolutely amazing. But there's also a lot of our elderlies, they're sitting in the homes, and most of the time they're just cooking and cleaning for the family. You know what I mean? We don't realize it, we take it for granted, but most of the time they're just cooking and cleaning. They're taking care of the family, they're taking care of the grandkids all day long, right? But we take that for granted because we are so busy in our lives, and we overlook it. So it's like, let's take that time. Any moment you get, spend time with them, have conversations with your elderly, right? I mean, I'm the type of person, if I walk into a party and I see, a Bajorg sitting there alone, most likely I'm gonna walk up and talk to him, just to see how he's doing, especially if someone's looking sad. Hey, what's going on? Where are you from? Picho kitton? Tell me about your life story. Kado aaye tusi? This and that. Like, what did you do in your life? What did you do for work? Oh,
Mhm.
ਮੈਂ ਖੇਤੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ, ਮੈਂ ਟਰੱਕ ਚਲਾਉਂਦਾ ਸੀ, ਮੈਂ ਆਹ ਕਰਦਾ ਸੀ, ਮੇਰਾ business ਸੀ. You learn about stuff. Not to mention they feel great because they're just like, oh wow, so and so. I don't even know them, but I just had a great conversation. Because the last time they had a conversation with a random person, or even someone they loved, might have been a long time. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They might be missing something too. So you can not. I mean, it's gonna benefit you, but it's gonna benefit them too. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And
Definitely.
going
No,
back in, like, sharing something with you guys. So my family, my nanny, she's a very proud woman, and she's like the main. She's like the root. She's like the head of family, right? And she keeps everyone connected. We're all like little branches that are branched out. And when she talks about, like, once I took her to go get, I went to go get my nails done, as we all girls do. Sunshine kunda, we'll go get our nails done. And I took her with me to go get pedicure done. She didn't know what to expect, but she went in with me, and I was like, "Chal, nani tenu baal leke chalde. Let's go on a date." And she's like, "Mainu nahi pata date doot ki hundi hai." So I took her out for a date. When we went there, she saw, all the people in the shop, and she got really scared. Like, she didn't expect, and I was like, "Baby, ਇੱਥੇ ਬਹਿ ਜਾ, ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਤੇਰੇ ਪੈਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਨਾ ਮਸਾਜ ਕਰਨੀ, ਮਾਲਿਸ਼ ਫਿਰ।" ਕਹਿੰਦੀ, "ਅੱਛਾ, ਏਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ?" ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ, "Yeah, ਏਦਾਂ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ." And we got her to sit. I got her to sit down and did it, and then I was translating everything. And then, like 2-3 weeks later, she goes, "ਆਪਾਂ ਫਿਰ date ਤੇ ਕਦ ਫਿਰ ਜਾਣਾ?" And I was like, "It's not an everyday." you know but
That's so
she
cute.
appreciated the time so much that we actually did that, and she was so, like, all puffed up with so much energy when we come home, and she was telling me about her story. So I think the moment, even if we spend a little time with our elders, it makes a huge difference to them. Now, going back to what we were talking about bullying. Now, if you remember, all you guys that are watching today's show, in our episodes before, we actually spoke and we touched base about a young Singh who was wearing a partka in the UK. He was in Birmingham, and his partka got taken off, and he was beaten down the floor. His case was all pulled off and onto the floor. The ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ case ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁਰੂਆਂ ਨੇ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ. It's, to us, our case, our pakta, our turban is a crown to us, and it's a lot of minor to us, and it means respect, it means value to us, right? But when that was done to him, and he was bullied, there was that case. But then there was also another case that we also saw as well. So for any of you that have been watching, there was also a young dwarf kid who had disabilities, and I think he was a very young kid who actually said to his mom, when his mom went to go pick him up, that I want to kill myself. And to have that as a mother, to hear that your child sit in the back of your car telling your mom that actually I don't want to live, I don't want to go to school because I'm getting bullied because of my disability, I want to kill myself. That's a very strong and a very hard thing to hear. So how do we actually, and then what ended up happening was there was a lot of celebrities, a lot of voices were raised together online, which is a positive of social media, because voices can be raised across social media across the world. And people actually donated money for this child to make him happy so they could take him to Disneyland. And the school was also inspected as well. However, how do we kind of react to when something like this happens? Yes, we can use social media to kind of create an awareness, and have our voices raised, which is great, and we can all come together as one big community, because so how do we kind of react to that? What can we do if we see someone being attacked or someone being bullied, or us having been bullied? How do we kind of defend ourselves? What do we kind of do? How do we react to all of that? Gups, I'm going to go to you this one.
Yeah, so I think a part of all the problems stem from being from a reactive standpoint. So when you react to things, that's already when the behavior has already occurred. So rather than be reactive, you got to be proactive. So there's a lot of strategies. I grew up with doing karate. My dad grew up out of necessity to do taekwondo because he was bullied for having a gas turban. So he was bullied every single day. For me specifically, the proactive strategy was to do karate. Now, yes, karate is used for self-defense, but there's so many other strategies that karate teaches. It teaches humility. It teaches you how to uh, be more like schedule based in your life, to have more discipline in your life. You'll find out that when you put somebody in karate, that other aspects of their life changes. If maybe you'll find out that they have more like stringent schedules in how they live their daily lives. They structure their life in a way that is more orderly. That all is taught as a secondary foundational skills with karate and with other martial arts. So for those who are being bullied, or even those who are trying to seek out, all these other aspects of their life, mental health, physical, spiritual health, things like karate is a necessary, I feel like it's a necessary entity to have in your life to practice, because it not only teaches you the physical skills to defend yourself in a last resort situation, but also teaches you how to be calm, how to diffuse, and how to moderate certain situations. Now, I'm not a licensed clinician, and nor those who are like practicing karate are licensed clinicians to be able to moderate situations, but it does teach you how to diffuse when you're in a high anxiety situation like bullying. So there's a lot of benefits to having karate, and there's some negative connotations to it, that a person who learns how to fight will fight. And the first thing that karate teaches you, that it's not to fight, it's to have that self-discipline among many things. So I'm a big advocate for martial arts, just because in our history, that's what we do, Gatka, and with all of our other forms of fighting, it teaches us humility. It teaches us that sense of respect for ourselves and for others. It's ingrained in us, you know. So I feel like for those parents, it's great for them as well. It's a good mental exercise and it's good physical exercise. So if you have the opportunity to do martial arts, whether it's taekwondo, whether it's jujitsu, MMA, or any of these other martial arts, I'm a big believer that you should do it because one, you do it as a family. That's one way to be connected with each other. But it also teaches you all those core values as a secondary and tertiary, benefit.
So,
Can I just add a few things to that?
of course.
Sorry, Kiran. I just want a few things I want to add to that. So, and I agree with groups is like physical, like being able to physically defend yourself and your family is very important. So, you know, get into any kind of professional, fighting or anything like that would be great for men and females, right? It's amazing for everybody. But the greatest benefit you get out of it is your physical strength. And anytime you do anything physical, the piggyback effect of that is mental. So anytime you're moving your body, you're doing anything, whether it be just simply running or lifting like 5 pounds, right? Anything active you do is gonna have an effect on your mental health. It's gonna make you feel more fresh. It's gonna make you feel more, much better and more content. And then another thing that you do with that is meditation. Whatever form of meditation you do, whether it be part, whether it be just doing Simran, whether it be just actually sitting down and just breathing and taking 5 minutes out of your day. Because so while physical strength is important, mental strength is just as, if not more important for you, right? Because mental strength is gonna determine your reaction to the bullying. If you're content, you're present, you're so happy with yourself that the person laughing at you, you have the strength to look at him and be like, laugh back at them, and be like, bro, I feel bad for you. I hope you get help. I'm so sorry, and just walk away feeling great. There's nothing like more greater, and like it's gonna leave the bully thinking like, what? I'm usually bullying people. I'm making people cry. This guy just laughed at me, and walked away, and he's not affected by it. Like it will throw them off. So like yes, physical is good. Always you want to be physically fit and physically healthy. If you want to live a good, happy life, you got to be physically healthy. But of course, mental health is the biggest thing. So if you can get a therapist, if you can get help, if you can talk to somebody, do it. But if you can't, talk to yourself. Talk to the higher power that you believe in. And take care of yourself. Take a minute for yourself and breathe and be present. And you'll realize that 90% of the problems that you're worried about aren't even problems. They don't even exist. Or they haven't even happened, or they happened 10 years ago, but you're worried about them right now. So if you're mentally clear, you'll be able to deal with a lot of problems so much better and realize that they're not even problems and realize that the bully that's bullying you doesn't even matter because he can't even get to you. You know what I mean? So physical and mental go hand in hand.
Because we're coming towards the end of the show, Sukipen, is there any tips that you would like to give to all the viewers that are watching? How can we protect ourselves and others around us? What tips can you give to help prevent bullying?
I think what the guys have said is great. I think, some kind of self-defense classes will be great for the child. Not only will they be able to make new friends, it will help build their confidence and physical. But my advice is to the parents, like Justy said, he picked up on that his nephew wasn't acting quite right. Nobody knows your child better than you. If you feel like your child is off, you need to speak to them, but make that they feel comfortable. You don't want to sort of go in all guns blazing. My child's being bullied. I'm going to go into school. I'm going to go do this, because that will put the child off you. Speak to them in a way where you're getting sort of information out of them. I think I mentioned to you guys at the start, my nephew, he's the only one that there's a guy in his school, and it's majority of all English children. And I feel like I'm sensing that there's something not quite right, because he doesn't seem himself. Words that we're picking up on that are making us think, is he being bullied? But yesterday I sort of spoke to him in a way where I said, you know what, when I was in school, I got bullied. And he turned around to me saying, oh, did you, Boa? Like, what did they do to you? And this, that, the other. So have the conversation where they feel comfortable speaking to you and knowing you're not going to sort of embarrass them any further by going into the school, and trying to deal with things yourself. Let the child make the decision. But like I said, just make sure, you'll be able to have that conversation and they're comfortable and can come to you, because, you don't want them to be sort of, you know, dealing with it themselves, suffering and you know, not feeling comfortable speaking to someone, whether that's, you know, the mum and dad, or whether it's your uncle or auntie, chacha, bua, you know, whoever they feel comfortable speaking to. Keep an eye on your child, because, like I said, you'll be the first one to pick up on something that is not quite right. So that's my advice.
And I think for all that brings us a wrap, and that brings us towards the end of today's show. And I hope you guys that have been actually watching ਘਰੇ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ, ਜਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ YouTube ਤੋਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ, ਜਾਂ Facebook ਤੇ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੈਠੇ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਆ, you know, bullying happens, from what we've learned from the episodes and from all our guests today, that, you know, bullying ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਵੀ happen ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ, and it can happen at any time, at any age. But it's really important to speak out, you know, speak to someone about it. If you don't feel comfortable talking to someone in your family, go speak to someone else about it, but go get the help that you actually need. It shouldn't feel embarrassing. You shouldn't have to go through it with whatever you are going through. Go speak to someone about it and go find ways to deal with it. There are so many different to actually ways to deal with it, whether it's speaking, like Sukipen said, dealing with it in a different matter, dealing with it a different way, speak to your children in a different way, or, you know, like GURPS and Jessie has just said, that, you know, speak to the higher power, you know, do Simran, do Bath meditation, or go actually do learn, you know, do some karate or something like that. Learns different tactics to actually deal with it. Everyone has their own way to deal with it. ਅਸੀਂ ਸਭ ਰੱਬ ਦੇ ਬੰਦੇ ਆ. And on that note, ਦੂਰ ਕਿਤੇ ਜਾਇਓ ਨਾ, ਅਸੀਂ ਅਗਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਫੇਰ ਆਵਾਂਗੇ every Thursday 9:30 on the Kiran Rai Show. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਤੇ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.